Hi everybody, welcome to the second installment of the gown draping process. If you haven't checked out my previous video on draping the bodice with Jenny about a month ago on YouTube, we'll put a link somewhere here that you can go check that one out first. And then today we're going to take the draped pattern and make a paper pattern of it, so that we can get rid of the factory cotton altogether and work from a nice pristine pattern. My name is Kelly Grant. I'm owner of Sweet Shoe Historical Clothing, and it's my purpose in life to make everybody look fabulous in their historical clothing, no matter the class level or the budget. Okay, so here is Jenny's lovely draping, still pinned in places because I need those reference points. I did take the sleeve off. Before I did take the sleeve off, I marked the shoulder point and then the shoulder point here on the shoulder strap, so I know where Jenny's arm needs to sit in the sleeve. Put my glasses on so I can see. I'm just going to do some transfer marking first, and that's to mark the pins, and they don't have to be beautiful, but they should be as accurate as possible. And then I'm going to slowly remove the pins as I've done the transfer marking. And I've done both sides of that seam. Now I can take the pins out.
So you're marking both fabrics, right?
Both fabrics.
That way your transfer mark are made as one.
No, I'm actually doing them as two separate things.
But I'm saying it's going to mark both.
Yeah, it needs to mark both sides of the seam.
Yeah. I'm the peanut gallery, by the way.
Yeah, peanut gallery. So I'm being very careful not to spread the fabric out. I'm just kind of flattening it. And I'm not going to go at this with an iron at all either, because I don't want the fabric to be stretched out of shape. And I can see where that fold line is that I made when I first started draping. So I'm just following that fold line now. This is her waistline mark for her back waist. And I'm not going to worry too much about that front fold line. I can see it there partially. But I'm going to make her a stomacher, and it's okay to have a stomacher that's slightly wider than bodice. Makes for pinning later a little bit easier. Okay. I'm just gonna go get my scissors. Now, there's her back bodice, her side front bodice, and her stomacher. I'm going to very carefully cut on the lines. Very carefully meaning this is just a rough pattern, and I'm not going to worry too much about cutting exactly on the line. I'm just going to cut roughly where the line is, but in a nice shape. And I'm using my scissors to straighten out that line. I'm going to straighten that line out a little bit. And you'll notice that I'm using the whole blade of my scissors. If you take short little clips with your scissors, the blade will develop little notches and won't cut anymore. So it's important to use the whole blade of your scissors. And these ones need to be sharpened. I can feel there's some rough bits on the blade. Okay, so see how this goes up like that? That's the following her stays line, but I want to have a nice stomacher top, so I'm going to go straight across, a bit on an angle. I'm going to cut my selvage off, because that's going to act up later. So there's your half stomacher, her bodice side front. Now I'm going, oh, shoulder strap. Now your shoulder strap might be a little bit more straight than Jenny's is. Jenny is a very curvy lady. That's my shoulder point right there. That bone right here. So when I transfer, I'll make sure to mark the neck edge and the shoulder edge of that pattern. Okay, now what I'm going to do is trace around. And you could do this with pencil, you don't need to commit to pen. Mark the waist. This will be helpful later when I want to make her a different style of gown.
Yeah, because that pattern is not just for one gown. It's basically a block pattern, right?
Yeah, it's a standard block pattern for the 18th century by putting the pieces together and paying attention to the shapes. I can make a gown anywhere from a sack back. So if I was to make a sack back, I would cut it off at the waist for the lining, because you don't need that swallowtail for the lining. If I was to make a center front closure, I would take the stomacher pattern and the side bodice pattern and tape them together to cut the lining out for center front closure. And I'm going to mark my grain line. It's important to mark your grain lines and pay attention to those. And the stomacher. And you could totally use a ruler to draw that straight line. And I'm going to curve that nicely into a nice curve. And the stomacher most of the time is cut on the fold, so I'm going to mark in that line. These are standard pattern markings. That always means on the fold. This always means on the straight of grain. I'm going to mark the straight of grain parallel to the center back on this one.
Shoulder point?
Yep.
Yep.
This bone right here. And it sits differently on every body. So by marking that bone and where it sits, I can tell where my sleeve needs to be angled. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is mark the pattern with Jenny's name, the date, and my copyright. so that I know when it was produced, and I can tell in future when, if Jenny has gained or lost weight, if this pattern will still fit her. Okay, so I will do that and then set up for drafting the sleeve. So you'll notice that I have marked the patterns with the green lines, the waistline, Jenny's name, the date of the pattern. I do have to mark in the green line of the shoulder strap, but the added things on the shoulder strap are the neck edge, the shoulder edge, the front and the back, so that I know which direction the strap goes in. And from the left, you'll see the stomacher, the side front, the back, and the shoulder strap. The sleeve is on a separate piece of paper, but will be included with this pattern. Okay, so fresh piece of paper. Tackling the sleeve. Sleeve, I started with a standard sleeve shape, but during the draping process, I noticed that she needs a little bit more on the top edge. So I will fix that when we go to trace off the sleeve. So I'm going to mark my seam lines, and I've marked the lower edge, and I'm also going to mark this dart. No, I didn't mark the arm, so I know it has to come down to here. So there's my sleeve. Now, in the fitting, I marked that it needs 2 inches more ease this way and another inch of height this way. So, again, I'm going to cut on my drawing lines. So there's the sleeve shape. Now I'm going to cut straight down the grain of the cloth. That's going to allow me to be able to spread that open. But I'm also going to cut this way. Up to, but not through. So, because I don't want to mess with these bicep circumference, that's going to stay in place. What I'm going to do is slash and spread these to give me more height and then more ease. And don't worry about the middle bits, just kind of smooth them down. So I wanted about 2 more inches of ease, and I wanted some more height. At least an inch height. I know I've got more than an inch here, but that's okay.
It's better to have more than not enough.
Better to have more than not enough. But I haven't touched really this measurement. Not a whole lot, like maybe a little tiny bit. And I haven't really touched the proper shape of the sleeve. So now that I've got it all slashed and spread, I'm going to trace it off.
Dust cloud coming down.
It doesn't help matters that the dog is going up and down the stairs.
I know. And yeah.
And we've been moving and packing boxes and all that stuff. So I'm literally making a nice curve. As my professor would say, draw a nice line.
And there's a sleeve.
And there's Jenny's sleeve. Now, I'm also going to mark in my grain line, which I know follows the sleeve straight up and down like that. This point is the back arm. That's the back of the sleeve. I know this from making many of these sleeves. And I show how to set an 18th century sleeve like this in another video, which we will
Link.
Card
at the top here.
Yeah, probably a card up there. $20.21.
5 of 5.
So the 5 of 5 is to tell me how many pieces of the pattern there is and which piece this is. I can tell that it's the sleeve, but if I was to make this pattern for someone else, I would also write sleeve pattern. I will probably mock this up in factory cotton and just test it out before I make it up into the sleeve with the proper fabric. But this gives me a very good idea of where Jenny's arm is and a sleeve that I can work with.
That's more important with the sleeve, huh?
It is more important
than
with the
anything
sleeve.
else, because the other one is just like,
the body is the body.
yeah.
And
but
the
sleeves
draping,
are
sleeves
more...
are one of those things that I futz with. I futz with the angle of them. I make sure that they're nice and tight. They don't look like a bag attached to the arm. I also am really cognizant of how much ease is in the top of the sleeve so that your arm has someplace to go. That's one of the problems that I see a lot of in historical clothing. The sleeve is made too tight for the armhole, and so the whole garment just kind of falls off the body because there's no place for the arm to hang out. So this pile of cloth is now garbage. It is not to be used ever again. It's not to be used for linings. It's not to be used later on. We have a good pattern. I have transferred all my markings. This is going in the trash. And that's the end of this step. Hope you have a great day. Follow me and hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video and found it helpful. Hit the notifications bell for when the next video goes live. And there will be more in this process as I get things built so that I can show you the process of building a gown. Okay, have a great day.